Hello everyone. Welcome to the YouTube channel of the Indian Express. I am Manas Srivastava and you are watching UPSC Essentials. Dear aspirants, Indian Express and your UPSC preparation go hand in hand. So we are here to make your job a little simpler. And today we are going to take up a topic of union budget. Aspirants, as you know that the month of February is important for UPSC for two reasons. One, the notification and the registration processes for the UPSC Civil Services exam starts. And second, because of the union budget. So here we go. We make it a little simpler for you, talk about the key issues there, key facts there, and then you can solve and see your progress through various MCQs. So get set, go. In today's discussion, we are going to talk about the union budget and we'll begin with some general facts. Then we are going to talk about the vision and opportunities as mentioned in the budget 2023-2024. And finally, we are going to talk about the priorities. Today, we'll be able to cover two priorities, and for the later priorities, you have to come and see us again. And let's begin with the MCQ. As you can see on the screen, the question is very direct, and it is a little interesting and takes you to even history. The question is, with respect to the budget, consider the following statements. So, there are three statements. First, James Wilson was the first to present India's budget in 1860. Second, John Mathai presented the first budget of independent India. Third, the budget division of the Department of Economic Affairs in the Ministry of Finance is the nodal body responsible for preparing the budget. So these are the three statements, a mix of the current and history. Remember, the second statement says the first budget of independent India, whereas the first statement, which talks about James Wilson, says about the first budget of India. Now, see the options. Which of the above statements is correct? A, 1 and 3. B, 2 only. C, 3 only. And D, all of the statement, that is 1, 2 and 3. Now, go back to the question and try to, remember your previous knowledge about the budget. Even if you don't know, I would suggest that make a try, comment in the box, and let's see how you do. So I'll wait for your answers and we can interact in the comment box. I'll be answering all your questions, all your doubts. So let's begin with the theory part. So before going and diving into 2023-2024 budget, let me talk about certain general facts, because it's very important to know what is budget, where is it in constitution, all these things. Of course, we are not going to go in detail, but certain things which you should definitely know. For example, in the constitution, Article 112 tells about union budget. But remember, it doesn't mention the word budget at all. What does it say? It refers union budget as annual financial statement. So wherever AFS is written, please consider it as annual financial statement. The second point which you should remember is that the estimated receipts and expenditure of the government in a financial year is what is budget about. What? Estimated receipts, and second, the expenditure of the government. Now, see the year which is mentioned is the financial year. So the financial year is not January to December, not the normal year which we think of. The financial year, and you all should know, it's a basic thing, but a lot of people don't know, begins from 1st April of the current year and ends on 31st March of the following year. So, technically speaking, the financial year hasn't started yet. it will start from the 1st of April and it will end on the 31st March of the next year. The fourth important point which you should always remember, that it is prepared by Department of Economic Affairs in the Ministry of Finance. Therefore, the Finance Minister, the Honorable Finance Minister, presents the budget. If I come to the sixth part of it, we can briefly tell that there are two parts in the budget. Part A, look at the screen what's written. It talks about the macroeconomic part of the budget where various schemes and priorities of the governments are announced and allocations are made to several sectors. So you see, the budget is not only important for the economy or the economic subject of your syllabus. When it talks about various schemes, you can see its relevance in polity, in welfare, in social issues. Okay, so there is a link. This is not a document which is relevant only for the economy and economic development part of your syllabus. It is equally important for, say, GS paper 2. The part B of the budget talks about or deals with something known as finance bill, which contains, now what does it contain, the finance bill? The taxation proposals such as income tax revisions and indirect taxes. We'll come to this probably in the third video or the third lecture or the third time you meet me for the budget, the series. Now, look at the last point which I have mentioned. This is an important article, and this is Article 110. And what it briefly tells us, it tells us that a finance bill is a money bill as defined in the Constitution. Now, I'm not going ahead of Article 110 and maybe discussing what it means, because I'm leaving this for you to comment in the box below that how finance bill and money bill are similar and different. They're not same, yet they are similar. When we say they are similar, there must be some differences. So Article 110 becomes important for your exams because a finance bill is a money bill as defined in the Constitution. Before going ahead, let me also remind you that you have any doubt, do comment in the box below and I will try to solve all your queries. The seventh general fact which I want to talk about is that when we talk about the documents of the budget speech, there are certain part which is mandated in the Constitution of India, and therefore it is specified or it is mentioned in some of the articles of the Constitution. For example, when we talk about annual financial statement, that is the budget itself, it is in Article 112. So you must be reminded of the previous slide. Demand of grants, it is in Article 113. Finance bill, which is in Article 110, as we have mentioned. So, very simple question can be framed in prelims where they can ask you to match the columns, okay, and ask you which article relates to what. So it's very simple. The first thing is the annual financial statement, which is Article 112. So this is the first. The second is demand of grants, which is 113. And finance bill, which is Article 110. Don't be confused. It comes before the annual financial statement as per the article in the Constitution. अब ये तो बात हो गई Constitution के अंदर की. What about the part which is there not in the Constitution but in an act? अब ये act कौन सा है? Which is this act? This is Fiscal Policy Statement, which is mandated under FRBM Act. Another very important act. And what all are mentioned there, for example, the macroeconomic framework statement, medium-term fiscal policy strategy statement. So these are certain things which are not directly in the Constitution, in the articles, but there is a specific FRBM Act which is made. Again, what is FRBM Act? This is something which you should find out. You should write about it. There are certain important elements which you should know about FRBM Act. It is always in news. It is always discussed, whether in budget speech or otherwise. But apart from this, there are other explanatory documents. These are like, say, expenditure budget, receipt budget, expenditure profile. And when you go to various government sites, you'll find budget at a glance. So that is also attached in the budget. So there, it's just not a financial statement, but it comprises of many important elements. Now you should know that, what is the various stages in the budget. So various stages of a budget. कितने सारे stages हैं? So basically, if you see, the A is presentation of the budget, when the budget is presented. Second is the general discussion in both houses of parliament. So you must be seeing that once the presentation is done of the budget by the finance minister in the Lok Sabha, then it is followed by a discussion both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then there are various departmental committees which scrutinize it, which is known as scrutiny by department committees. And then we come to the part of voting. So voting of demands of grants, passing an appropriation bill, and passing of finance bill. So this is not to confuse you, but just to tell you, just to give you a brief idea that how a budget, what are the various stages of a budget, how is it passed. Okay, so it's just not that the speech is done and the budget is passed. No, there's a process involved. अगर हम आगे बढ़ें तो मैं आपको थोड़ा सा रोकूंगा and I'll bring back you to a MCQ. Again, I'm not discussing the answer of this MCQ here because it's a very direct and a very easy MCQ. And the answer of this MCQ you will find when we go to different, other slides of the lecture today. So with reference to the budget 2023-2024, which is the current budget, consider the following statements. Again, there are two statements. Pehla statement jo hai, the first statement is, Bharat Shri mentioned in the budget relates to numismatics. So you must know what is numismatics. Okay, it's a study of coins. Sikkon ki padhai. Okay, that is numismatics. So there's something called Bharat Shri which must have been announced in the budget, and the statement says that it relates to numismatics. The second is Shri Anna. Now Shri Anna mentioned in the budget relates to millets. Now that reminds me, millets is something very important this year. Okay, because it is the International Year of Millets. So there will be a lot of news, lot of editorials, and lot of schemes and events around millets. And I'm sure you must be reading it. Maybe one day we can talk about millets in detail. So these are the two statements, and the question is, which of the above statement is incorrect? Remember these words. Sometimes we just skip these words. Sometimes we think it's written correct, और हमारा question गड़बड़ हो जाता है. So do not miss these key words. So which of the above statements are incorrect? Only one, B only two, C both 1 and 2, and D neither 1 nor 2. So these are the two statements. One relates to Bharat Shri, and second is Shri Anna. Okay, so we're going to discuss about this in the next slides, the slides which are coming up. Now finally, let's come to the Union Budget 2023-2024. So till now what I have done for you, I've given you a basic structure of what is budget, some basic ideas, some general facts. And now some key points, some very important relevant points about 2023-2024 Union Budget. Now dear aspirants, you will see a lot of articles and editorials around Union Budget which will go on and on for months, because this is an important document for our country's economy, polity, society. But our task is to make it relevant for our examination point of view. And since prelims is approaching, so your focus should be on the factual part. But remember, UPSC plays on the analytical part as well. They can frame questions in prelims based on analysis, or definitely in mains. Or sometimes indirectly, you have to incorporate these facts in your answers as a good fodder for your answer. So having said that, the good fodder for an answer in your mains when it comes to economy or polity comes from what is the vision of the budget. That is, what is the vision or what is the budget aiming at? What is the vision? What is the budget when made or when planned? what is there in the mind of the government. That is the vision. And here, without any doubt, the vision is around Amrit Kal. So when we talk about the Amrit Kal, this document talks about focuses on three particular visions. One, as mentioned, opportunities for citizens with focus on youth. You know, there are various government policies, and the government especially is focusing on youth. And therefore, the first point they want to say here about the vision of this Amrit Kal ka pehla budget is opportunities for citizens and focus on youth. Now, there's another connected point to it, which is growth in job creation. Now, you know, there have been a lot of issues, a lot of debate around the issue of unemployment. And we are seeing, you know, recessions in western part of the world. And we are seeing, you know, various topics and issues around the unemployment. So the government has tried to bring the attention of the citizens of the country and tried to tell us the aim of through its budget, that job creation is one of the agendas. The third is strong and stable macroeconomic environment. That is very important. And why is it important? I'll come back to all these things when we'll go to the next slide. But before that, along with these three visions for Amrit Kal, there are 4 transformative opportunities. So 3 visions, 4 opportunities. Remember that. First, economic empowerment of women. So you see, you must have seen in speeches, in writings and elsewhere on media, that this budget focuses on women. And it focuses because it sees one of the transformative opportunities in the form of empowering women. So one is that. Second is the PM Vishwakarma Kaushal Samman, that is PM Vikas. Now, can you comment in your box? We will definitely deal with this, but can you comment in the box and tell me which segment of the society or which sector or which class of the society does this Samman or this PM Vikas relates to? And we'll come back to it. Let me see how correct you are. Third is tapping the potential of tourism. Another important, it might have been a surprising element for a lot of us, but India is a hub of tourism, isn't it? A lot of people from international arena or from the world come to India for the tourism sector, and tourism sector gains by the footfall of people around the world. Okay, remember this is also the year of G20, so we'll have a lot of tourists visiting. Okay, so you can remember from that connection. So tapping the potential of tourism. And the fourth point here is the green growth leading to efficient use of energy across sectors and green jobs. So you see, focus on green, that is climate friendly, okay, eco-friendly. So green growth, which is leading to efficient use of energy across sectors and green jobs. So green jobs, green energy, tourism, Kaushal Samman, and then you have empowerment of women. So these are the 4 transformative opportunities. Now, as I told you that I'll bring you back to what we have discussed till now. When we see that the statement from the budget or from the budget speech, it says, and it might sound a very general statement, but it has, it covers the essence of the budget. And what is it? And I quote, "In the 75th year of India's independence, the world has recognized the Indian economy as a bright star, as the economic growth is estimated at 7%, which is the highest among all major economies, in spite of the massive global slowdown caused by COVID-19 and Russian-Ukraine war." Now remember, the reason for writing this is also to tell you that an introduction of an answer can be beautifully summed up by these 4 or 5 lines, where you have told that this is the 75th year of the independence, we are definitely entering the Amrit Kal, we've entered the Amrit Kal in fact, and we have told that in a positive way, our country's economy is better than all the developed countries, major economies, which is around 7%. And then you are telling them that this is despite of the negativities around the world in the form of the economic slowdown because of the COVID-19 or the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Despite these things, India is faring well. India is doing well in the economic front. So if you see these 4 lines, it tells the spirit of the budget. It tells you that there is, unemployment or recession because of the economic slowdown because of the COVID-19 around the world. Okay, so you must have seen the firing of a lot of people from the international big companies around the world. That is all because of what is happening due to COVID-19 and the economic problems which are being caused due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, now in this situation, in these circumstances, India comes up with union budget, and therefore it was important to highlight it. And it was also important that where we are doing good and what else we aim to do. And that is what the budget is all about. So you can note down this statement in your notebook, and you can use it whenever you are talking about India as an economy, the current economy state. And then you can mention. So 4 line mein, you get what is the international situation and where is India now. So beautiful lines you can make a note of. Now, what we are going to focus in today's lecture and today's presentation and the presentations which are going to come next, the videos which you're going to watch in the upcoming days at the UPSC Essentials, is this. We are going to talk about the 7 guiding pillars which are mentioned in the union budget. Okay, and as the government always does, the 7 guiding pillars is named as Saptarishi. Okay, so it's named as Saptarishi, and it's beautifully mentioned that Saptarishi in the Amrit Kal. So these are basically the guiding pillars. So these are the broad headings under which the budget is made. Okay, so the first priority of this is the inclusive development. The second priority is reaching the last mile. The third priority is infrastructure and investment. The fourth priority is unleashing the potential. The fifth priority is green growth. The sixth priority is youth power. And the seventh priority, as you see, is financial sector. So what are these priorities telling us? These priorities are telling that under these 7 headings, the budget is planned and designed. But not only this, it also tells us that what is the vision of government? Okay, what are the priority areas of the government? What are those 7 pillars of the Amrit Kal which the government or the budget thinks is important? Okay, so there will be various schemes, various policies, okay, various initiatives of the government which will be mentioned under these categories. Okay, so these categories are important, you should know, and it will help you in making a good crispy notes also. It's not just the budget document, you get it printed and you can mug up. No, you have to be very, very practical in preparing it, what is important and what is not. So these will be acting as subheadings for you too. So today we are going to discuss 2 priorities. The first priority, as if I go back to the previous slide, the first priority is inclusive development, and the second is reaching the last mile. Okay, and the names of these priorities tell a lot about what is going to be the content. Okay, so let's start. The priority 1, which is inclusive development. Now, when we talk about inclusive development, okay, we are basically talking about the motto of the government, which they talk about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and taking the marginalized section through various schemes, addressing their issues. So all those things are going to come under inclusive development. For more, easy understanding, the budget, talks about basically 3-4 sectors under here. under this inclusive development. First, it talks about agriculture and cooperation. Then we will see about health. And then there is education and skill. So under these subheadings, the first priority is addressed. So let's see what is in the first priority. The inclusive development, and we're going to talk about agriculture and cooperation. The very first point is about digital public infrastructure for agriculture. Now there has been a push for digitization of a lot of things, about getting the benefits from the digital infrastructure in various fields. Now the budget talks about these benefits from digital public infrastructure in the field of agriculture. Now, what is the idea? How is it framed? It is based on that there should be an open source, open standard, and interoperable of public goods. So, to make these things simpler, the open source, open standard, operable public goods, what is important is that you bring digital infrastructure. आप digital infrastructure agriculture के field में ले आएंगे. So that is one of the things which the budget addresses. Then there is infrastructure. What else do you think of? Fund. Infrastructure will not do much good if there is no fund. So then we have Agriculture Accelerator Fund. This is to encourage agricultural startups by young entrepreneurs in rural areas. This is something very innovative, and maybe you can mention it in your answers also. We talk about startups, we talk about urban infrastructure, urban development, but this budget talks about encouraging agricultural startups by young entrepreneurs in rural areas. Okay, so the potential which we have, the youth potential, the knowledge economy which we have, taking them to the rural sector so that they can use their potential, knowledge, energy in taking the agricultural sector to new heights. Okay, so this is Agriculture Accelerator Fund. Then you have enhancing productivity of cotton crop. Cotton, again, a very important crop for our country. And how is it going to be done? There has to be a collaboration, and the collaboration between farmers, the state, that is the country, and industries. Okay, so if these three come together, the budget document tells us that the crop production of cotton is going to be high. And how it is going to be done if these farmers, state, and industry come together for supplies, for services, and market linkages. Finally, we have Atmanirbhar Horticulture Clean Plant Program. This will help in the disease-free and quality planting material for high-value horticulture crops. So, as we were talking about that in this particular slide, you have to just remember the keywords. What are these 4 keywords? The digital public infrastructure. Then you have the infrastructure hai to fund hoga, so Agriculture Accelerator Fund. Then you have enhancing productivity of cotton crop. And then you have Atmanirbhar Horticulture Clean Plant Program. Now that's not all in the agriculture, because agriculture is something which there is a lot in this budget document. The next is, yes, here we come. The Global Hub for Millets, or the Shri Anna. Okay, so the government or the finance minister mentioned in the speech also the relevance of millets. India is doing a lot these days around promotion of millets. So this is, as I mentioned earlier, it's an international year for millets also. So you have to remember something, that India is the largest producer and second largest exporter of Shri Anna in the world. Now that triggers a question that who is the largest, or who is the largest exporter of Shri Anna? Because India is second, who is the first one? So let's find out, and you can comment in the box for the benefit of your peer aspirants. So second largest exporter of Shri Anna in the world, and there are several types of Shri Anna or the millets, which the honorable finance minister did mention in her speech, which was jowar, ragi, bajra, kattu, ramdana, and so on and so forth. So you should have a brief idea. Sometimes in prelims they play with the words and they'll say that, say for example, what is kodu? Okay, so they'll ask, what is it? And then you should know that it is a millet, not a tribe. Okay, so sometimes they ask certain questions which may look very basic, but then they fetch you marks or get you a negative mark. The next point here is that related to millet is that Indian Institute of Millet Research in Hyderabad. So where is it located? Please note, it is in Hyderabad. Will be supported as a center of excellence for sharing best practices, research and technologies at the international level. So at the international level, we'll have, there are various good practices and research and technologies, and which is the nodal, this institute which will work as a center of excellence is the Indian Institute of Millet Research in Hyderabad. So you should know this basic fact. Then about agriculture credit. So though the number is not very important, but just for reference, rupees 20 lakh crore credit for animal husbandry, dairy and fishing sector. So these are the important sectors which the government has focused on in the budget. Along with it, there's a new sub-scheme of PM Matsya Sampada Yojana, so which targets of 6,000 crore to the further enable activities for fishermen. So the fishermen or fishery related scheme hai ye. So this is a new sub-scheme. Now try to find out if this scheme existed before in some or the other form or not. Okay. To the best of my knowledge, there was something related to it previously also. So we can always do, a little bit of hunt of the facts. So PM, this Yojana, which is related to fishermen or fishery. Now, what does it focus on? It focuses on improving value chain efficiency and expand the market. Okay, so that is something which is important, not only for the particular scheme, but when the government talks about the agricultural credit. So you have to remember this particular Yojana here or the scheme here. That is what I think is important in this slide. The next part here is about cooperation. There is a new ministry which is dedicated to this subject. And can you tell me who is the minister? Who is the minister, union minister responsible for this ministry of cooperation? Okay, so keep yourself active, keep commenting in the box below and keep me also engaged there, because then I'll let you know whether you're right or wrong, or maybe somebody from the viewers may also tell who is right or wrong. So the government is promoting cooperative based economic development model, especially for small and marginal farmers and other marginalized sections. So basically targeting this group, the small and marginal farmers and the marginalized sectors. Then there is something called Primary Agricultural Credit Society, or the PACS. Sometimes people call it PACS also. So, there is an attempt to computerize this PACS or PACS, so that this becomes multi-purpose in a way. So this is also one of the important aspect or important part mentioned in the budget. So in order to computerization or digitization, so much focus on digitization and computerization, that you have to keep in mind. Then also aim to facilitate setting up of cooperative societies in uncovered panchayats and villages in the next 5 years. So when we talk about agriculture, the document will talk about panchayats and the gram sabha or the gram level or the villages. So they want that these cooperative societies should reach to the areas where they do not exist before. Okay. Now, can you talk about certain cooperative societies or the organization which comes to your mind when you think about cooperatives? Okay. So they are very famous ones. Let's see if you know it. So that gives you a rough idea. It will always you'll keep in mind these things when you will try to connect the dots of what you already know. The next point here about is health. So we are talking about health now. So we've done agriculture, and now we're talking about health. So as I told you that inclusive development, the categories we are going to talk is agriculture and then health. And then finally we'll come to education and skill. So in health, first of all, nursing colleges. So there is a lot of focus on nursing. Okay. So there have been, a lot of hospitals which have been opened, the medical colleges. Now, in in relation to or near these medical colleges, or maybe inside these medical colleges, we'll also have nursing colleges. Okay, so 157 new nursing colleges co-location with the existing 157 medical colleges, which has been established since 2014. That is when when the Modi government, the first phase of the Modi government started. So जितने भी मेडिकल कॉलेजेस उस समय बने हैं 157, उनके साथ they'll bring the new nursing colleges also. Then there is one mention of important disease, okay, and this is something which you should look deep into, because there can be a question which can be framed of this from this particular disease, which is sickle cell anemia elimination mission. Now, this is something, it is mentioned in the budget document, which you think that it's important for economy. But look, this can be converted into a science question and asked to you. Okay, so sickle cell anemia elimination mission. Now, this is, of course, this is a mission which wants to eliminate this particular disease by, remember the date or the year, it's 2047. Okay, by 2047 it should be eliminated, and the focus is on creation of awareness of universal screening of 7 crore people at the age group of 0 to 40 years in affected tribal areas. Remember, there's a focus on tribal areas, on tribal people. We will see about it maybe in the next session when we meet. But this particular mission focuses on the affected tribal areas, people of affected tribal areas. So as I said, in this particular slide, I think this particular elimination mission of the disease is more important than nursing colleges, but of course, you need to have nurses as many as doctors, or maybe more than that, to take the country out from the health paralysis whenever it occurs. So this is something which you should see from the point of view of science also, biology per se. Then continuing there in the section of health, we have multidisciplinary courses for medical devices. Okay, so that it is linked to the skill development, manpower, and in the end, the high-end manufacturing and research of medical devices. COVID has taught us a lot of lessons, and this is one thing which the government is trying to do. Of course, as I said, the COVID has taught us a lot of lessons in medical field. Pharma innovation. Okay, so there's an idea that some amount of money or wealth should be put in by the government, so that we also become innovation hub rather than just being a manufacturing hub. It's important to be innovative, coming up with the ideas, experimenting. So a new program to promote research and innovation in pharmaceuticals will be taken up through Center of Excellence. So this is one important point here in the health. And finally we come to education and skilling. So as I said, we've done agriculture, we've done health, and now we are coming to education and skilling. Not much to learn or worry here, but you should know that the first thing which the government is trying to focus on is teachers training. You build schools, colleges, but if you do not have those quality teachers, the education is of no use. So teachers training is important. The District Institute of Education and Training will be developed as vibrant institutes of excellence for this purpose. So every district have this education, training institutes for teachers. They will be converted into vibrant institutes of excellence. That again triggers me a question in my mind is, how does any institute, when becomes an institute of excellence, what is the difference? When the question comes in state examinations, they will just simply ask that, which is the Institute of Excellence and what does the budget say. But maybe in your mains or maybe in your interview of the UPSC, they may ask you that how an Institute of Excellence is different from a normal institute of education. So that one thing you should maybe try to look into. I will definitely answer if you ask this question in the comment box. I'll be ready with your answer. So if you know, you can mention, otherwise I'm there for you. Then you have National Digital Library for Children and Adolescents. So as I told you, a lot of focus on digitization, the digitization of everything, because COVID has brought us into a habit of reading, learning through digital modes. And so why not libraries? Okay, why not making libraries into digital libraries? So this is one point, but there's an attached point here which you should remember. The National Book Trust, or the NBT, Children's Book Trust, and other sources will be encouraged to provide the non-curricular titles in regional languages and English to the physical libraries. So there will be an attempt to make the available text and books, to convert them, to translate them, to transcript them into the regional languages and English, and provide it to physical libraries, so that people or the children even in the smaller districts or towns can get access to the wealth, the real wealth we have, that is the books, the knowledge that we earn through books. So this is one area again which you should remember. Then the priority which we are going to talk about is the second priority. We will not go there's not much in it, but still you should know. It says reaching the last mile. मतलब आखिरी इंसान तक ये बजट को पहुंचना है, इस wealth को, इस knowledge को, इस vision को, इस economy को पहुंचना है. And therefore there are certain elements which this budget talks about. Aspirational districts and blocks program. So it covers 500 blocks for saturation of essential government services. So we already have this aspirational district program. Now they are reaching it to blocks. Okay, so that one thing you have to remember. Then yes, another very important area which the budget talks about is this PVTG, that is particularly vulnerable tribal group. And there is a particular mission dedicated to it. It is Pradhan Mantri PVTG Development Missions. Let me ask you a question. Who are these PVTGs? Can you tell me about PVTGs and why is it in so much news? Maybe so you should search about it. I remember there's an explained article about PVTG. You can search for it and do reply, or maybe you can also mail me about PVTG and we can discuss it in upcoming episodes whenever we come to the social welfare topics. So PVTG, an amount of 15,000 crore will be made available to implement the mission in the next 3 years under the Development Action Plan for Scheduled Tribes. So you should remember this is the action plan, and under this action plan you have this Pradhan Mantri PVTG Development Mission. Then you have the Eklavya model residential schools. By the word Eklavya, it should strike you that who is the target audience, or who is the the target beneficiaries of this particular scheme or the schools. So the budget tells you that in the next 3 years, center will recruit 38,800 teachers and support staff for the 740 Eklavya model residential schools of serving 3.5 lakh tribal students. So as I said you that the budget has a lot about the tribal communities, the tribal people, the tribal students. You will see in the upcoming videos also, where we will talk about the welfare schemes related to tribals. Other than that, there is a water for drought prone region. Now we are talking about this region in probably Karnataka. Correct me if I'm wrong. Karnataka, in this Upper Bhadra project, central assistance of 5,300 crore will be given. Let me know if I'm wrong. For best of my knowledge, is Karnataka. So if this, because we have to link this river with the state. So let's see if this river is in that state or not. So can somebody comment and tell me if I'm wrong? Okay, it's okay to be wrong at times. Then we have PM Awas Yojana. The focus is also on PM Awas Yojana. One of the important thing here, why I am saying this, because this particular figure is big. So the PM Awas Yojana, the outlay of PM Awas Yojana is being enhanced by 66%. Now this speaks volume about the stress the government is giving on the urban areas and the Awas, or the housing which it wants to provide. So 66% is a huge growth, and so you should remember this particular point. Sometimes you must be thinking that how will this question come in the examination? Well, that is something which you should not worry when you're reading the document of the budget. You should know the key features. So the next point here is about Bharat Shri. Now remember, we had an MCQ where we talked about Bharat Shri, and in the MCQ we talked about numismatics. We linked Bharat Shri to numismatics, but that was incorrect. Okay, some of you have answered in the comment box, but it is incorrect. Bharat Shri is related to epigraphy, and epigraphy, as a student of history myself, it's an interesting field to study. It is inscriptions. Study of inscriptions is epigraphy. Study of coins is numismatics. Very general thing, but you should note. So it will be set up in Digital Epigraphy Museum with digitization of 1 lakh ancient inscriptions in the first stage. So this country is a country of inscriptions. You will get inscriptions in the towns, in the cities, in the heartland, everywhere there are inscriptions written in different languages and scripts. So there will be a digitization of those things. Digital Epigraphy Museum will be established. The Bharat Shri will be established. And the next point here is something which a lot of people don't think about. It is about support for poor prisoners. Now, you know, a lot of times when the prisoners get bail or जब उनको रिहाई मिल जाती है, उसके बाद भी they are not able to come out of the jail because they are not able to pay the penalty or the bail amount. This is an important social issue to think about, that the people who are there in the prisons are not able to pay that money. So the government has decided that poor persons who are in prisons and unable to afford the penalty for the bail amount, required financial support will be provided. So financial support for those prisoners who are not able to afford the penalty or the bail amount. So these were certain, areas which I wanted to cover in today's video. So what we have done so far, we have understood certain general outlines or basic things about the budget. And then we came directly to the budget of this year, where we talked about the vision, the vision of the budget. This is the first budget of Amrit Kal. And then we talked about the 2 priorities out of 7 priorities. So Saptarishi में से हमने 2 priorities को cover किया. In the next video, we are going to talk about the other 3 priorities, and finally we'll talk about the remaining part in the 3rd video. So I hope that you like the video, and do comment, do ask questions, whatever doubts you have, mail me, and remain energetic for your exams which are going to come. Remember, this is not only important for prelims but also for mains. As I say before going, think smart, work hard, conquer your goal, and also subscribe and like the YouTube channel of the Indian Express. Thank you so much.